The show will begin in 5 minutes.
Level 7, turn left. Then turn right. The doors are closed. Do not even try. Do you hear voices in this empty hole? Do you know sounds of this afternoon? The neighbors are eating dinner. The neighbors are watching TV. The neighbors behind the walls.
The show will begin in 4 minutes. The show will begin in 3 minutes. The show will begin in 2 minutes. The show will begin in 1 minute. And now, our feature presentation. What's up, everybody? How you doing this fine Saturday afternoon before Easter? It's nearing 80 degrees where I am, so I think I'm gonna actually try and step outside today. I mean, probably wouldn't be a bad idea, but I do have a very nasty habit of getting sucked into things that I do for YouTube or my video games, and then I'm like, going outside is an afterthought. I haven't done an Apple Fitness Plus workout since April Fool's Day because the day after that, I threw out my back, and I've been recovering ever since. And my wrist, it feels not as bad as it did on Monday, but it also isn't quite where it was before then. Anyway, I've finally reached 7 days in a row of live streaming, figuring out what I think will work and what won't work. So I'm realizing that doing extended editions of my videos where I react to articles like these ones here, that's not as good an idea of a format as I thought. Or at the very least, doing a 1-to-1 ratio of videos and live streams. Maybe one live stream per week where I recap and expand upon them is probably a better idea. This way I have things to talk about, assuming I don't get any chats or viewers like what's going on right now. I'm not trying to shame anyone for not showing up, but if you do show up, a quick hello in the chat is always appreciated. I always love to hear back from you. I'm also realizing that live streaming in a different room is not a great idea. First of all, it's more complicated to set up in Henry's Mojo Dojo dormitorio bedroom compared to here in Henry's Mojo Dojo Officina office. I've got the interesting set design here. These three are my books that I've written. These ones over here are just other ones. Up there are, sorry, just some random toys I have, and a wooden box up here created by my grandfather. And then over here are just more other toys and the award I won for my short film series back in high school. That trophy was not just for participating. Actually, speaking of participation trophies, I think the Video Production Awards ceremony in May of every year balanced it out way better. Teachers and other people who got to vote voted for their favorites. We had nominees lists, and then the winners were announced right there in the show. At the start of the show, the hosts always led a round of applause for everyone who participated, which I think is ultimately the better way to handle that than just a physical trophy for just participating. Oh, abnormal psychology teacher hated participation trophies. One time, he even told the story of how he went to his nephew's soccer game, and when he asked what the score was, the parents were like, "Oh, we're not keeping score. We're just letting them play." Which, okay, that can be fun, but little competition never hurt anyone. Unless someone cheats, and then whether they get away with it or not. Just like in The Karate Kid with members of Cobra Kai, like the one who injured Daniel's leg. So yeah, that's just some thoughts I had. Anyway, I think what I'm really going to talk about now is I just finished listening to this video from Loser Maxing called Top 3 High School Regrets of a 35-Year-Old Loser. Because I found that I don't necessarily agree with all those regrets, and I also made what you could call mistakes. But let's actually take a look at it because I want to react to it. Full
I've been out of
disclosure, I already watched it, so I already know what he's gonna say. Yeah, I'm just trying to get to the first regret.
I never to listen to this. So the number one regret I have is that I never participated in any extracurricular activities. I didn't play sports and I wasn't in any clubs. And I can't say for sure that my life would have been drastically different if I played baseball in high school or whatever, but I do think it would have, at the very least, given me a better chance at making some friends. Or even if not that, just being on a team might have tricked some girl into thinking I'm actually cool or something. And I've talked about this a lot on this channel, but for those of you that don't know, I am a super high inhibition individual, which basically just means that I'm really shy. You know,
Yeah, I don't find myself. Sometimes I find myself regretting not at least trying something else. I mean, obviously, I'm not a sports guy. Now, I did participate in the video production program, which was mostly the class time, and then a little bit of after school stuff. Actually, a bit more when you take into account the fact that I was filming my short films as well as writing them on my own time. Like, it was on a Saturday where I had the idea for my first short film in high school. I wish I'd known back then that I'd rather have just written books so that I could have complete control over the story and not have to worry about whether this actor will show up or not, or whether something like that, or have to worry about how it'll play on the screen, whereas I could just write the story that I wanted. Of course, I didn't have ChatGPT at the time. Actually, I did not need ChatGPT to write my first two books over. Oh, wrong thumb. Over here, The Legend of Hyde-Am and its sequel, The Legend of Hyde-Am Pocrates. Foresight was partially written with AI. No, really. But I won't bore you with the details. The point is, I only regret not exploring certain things because I didn't know at the time that would have either been a better idea or that I'd or anything like that. I will say, I do not regret playing all the video games I played or the time I spent playing video games completely. A little less might not have been a bad idea. But as long as that time was not filled with getting into trouble or anything like that, I'd say I made the right call over. Oh, I forgot to turn on the white noise machine. That's better. I know you can't hear it because I have voice isolation turned on, but I just realized somebody came home. Anyway, let's get back to Loser Maxing's video.
No, I have really bad social anxiety. But I also, for a brief period of time, like for my junior and senior years of high school, I actually got to be pretty good looking, I think. Like, there were times when I'm pretty sure an attractive girl was interested in me, but I just was never able to do anything about it because of how shy I was. But anyway, I
That can happen. Wow, these closed captions are really accurate.
definitely, for sure, not going to help you in any way. So you're better off playing a sport. You know, it'll help you stay in shape and you might see some improvements in your social life. Even though, yeah, for a guy like me with how shy I am,
I regret not working out as much, but I do not regret not participating in team sports because I feel like I would have been more likely to be around someone who would try luring me into drinking or drugs, which, as abnormal psychology teacher said, stay the hell away from it.
it probably would not have helped much, but maybe it would have. I don't know. And like I said, you have a better chance of making friends or whatever at baseball practice than you do playing Fortnite alone in your bedroom. So, as much
It's not wrong, but it really depends on if you meet the person you play Fortnite with in person or not. See, this actually takes me back to another video I watched this morning about arcades and how they essentially acted as third places for people. Like, you still played video games, but you had a third place. For those of you who don't know, that's a reference to somewhere you go that is not home or work slash school, and you get to socialize and do other things like Central Perk from Friends. That was the third place for the Friends. They had their homes, which was their apartments. They had their jobs that actually watched the re-upload of the pitch meeting. And he's right, we barely see them go to work. Of course, could have to do that. The show is a highlight reel of what goes on outside of work, and work is occasionally brought in for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't think I never even I barely got into the second season before I decided to cancel Max because I didn't want to have to pay for it. And it let me focus my attention a little more on other things.
as I doubt it actually would have made a significant difference in my life, it's still a major regret I have because I do think on some level, being in some kind of regular group activity like that, on some level, that would have at least given me more opportunities for something to happen that could have changed my life. And for me, it really is all about opportunities. You know, my social anxiety is so bad. I know I could pretty much never actually initiate anything myself. So for me, my best chance at seeing any kind of change in my life is just by being around in the right situation for a magical opportunity to just happen to me.
Gotta make opportunity happen sometimes. It's like Ernesto de la Cruz said in Coco, you have to seize your moment. Yeah, maybe don't do exactly what he did. For those of you who haven't seen Coco, I don't want to spoil it for you, but let's just say the way that he seized his moment, uh, don't do it like that. Okay, mild spoilers. Spoilers for Coco in three, two, one. Ernesto de la Cruz poisoned his friend and left him for dead to pursue his music career on his own with the songs that said friend wrote. Yeah, very dark for a kids movie. So take the advice of seize your moment, just not like that. Okay? All right. We've established that Ernesto de la Cruz was wrong to seize his moment the way he did. Let's move on.
And I know that sounds pretty unlikely for something to actually happen like that. And I agree, it probably wouldn't happen. But again, you know for a fact you're wasting your time playing video games or whatever else useless, nothing activities you'd be doing otherwise.
Video games aren't a waste of time if you're enjoying what you're doing. And hey, if you can connect with people online, it can be fun to do. Obviously, everything in moderation. I haven't been playing video games as much recently because I've been focused on this YouTube stuff and because I'm trying to stretch my games out a little longer to get my money's worth, to put my money where my mouth is, or I'm saying for the Nintendo Switch 2 prices. Well, if you just put more time into it, you can get the most out of every single game. Quality over quantity and all that, which is exactly what I think is the best way to handle it rather than just plowing through video games, then moving on. I should know. I expressed regret in my video about how I reacted to Memoir of a Snail, that I regret going through way too many different video games. To the point I had nearly 100 3DS game cartridges, I think, by the midpoint of college, because back in freshman year of high school, after Christmas, I would buy a new 3DS game every single week, and then just play through as much of it as I could with what time I had. Maybe try to beat the main story, and then just move on. Now, I slowed it down by the end of summer, because that's when I started saving for Christmas presents for my relatives, but that being said, I still wasted a lot of money on games that I barely came back to in the years after. Not to mention, it split my attention way too much between way too many different games, which is why I now focus on one game at a time and maybe play the occasional multiplayer games for fun. Like, I need to play Splatoon 3 more just so I get more out of my Switch Online membership. Anyway, getting back to the video we're reacting to, for those of you who just joined, it's Loser Maxing's top 3 high school regrets of a 35-year-old loser.
So you're just better off doing some extracurricular activities. And another thing you might not realize when you're young, I know I didn't, after high school, you're not going to get a lot more opportunity to do any kind of group activities like that.
Not unless you know where to look. Facebook groups exist these days. You know what? Maybe I should try something more like that and then report back in a future video. Let me know if you'd like that.
Like, technically, you can probably find an adult soccer league or baseball league, but it's not going to be the same. and you might not even be able to find that depending on where you live. And just think if you wanted to do something like football, for example. Well, you can forget about that after high school. I don't think there's any kind of recreational adult football league out there.
It's probably too physically intensive. So I once asked this small business owner who was into sports, why do sports like baseball, hockey, and what was it again? Basketball. Why do those three do daily games or almost daily games? And then they have then after that, they just either take a day off or two. And then their playoffs and the World Series, the Stanley Cup, and the finals, those are all best 4 out of 7 in terms of that. Whereas where it might take someone might sweep it in 4 games, it might take 5 games. If one of them, if the winning team loses one and then comes back in the next, like I've heard theories that the Celtics actually lost a game on purpose just that they could win the finals on June 17th, which for those of you not in the Boston area, that's 617. It's the Boston area code. So that's sometimes called Boston Day, not to be confused with one Boston Day from last Tuesday after which is the anniversary of what happened at the Boston Marathon in 2013. And yeah, that's why the Celtics chose to. There's a theory that the Celtics chose to lose a finals game on purpose, which I don't know. I'm happy for all the sports ball people who wanted that to be the case, that they'd win the finals on Boston Day, June 17th, because the numbering is 617. But anyway, the point is the small business owner told me that those 3 sports aren't as physically intensive. So he described baseball as, quote, a bunch of guys just standing around. Okay, there is some running involved. His words, not mine, because baseball does have some. You have to run from one base to another. You have to have the strength to hit the ball. You have to not flinch at the ball as well. And then hockey, yeah, there are some fights in there, but it's not like intensive enough to the point that they have to have only one game a week to allow people time to recover, even though the pros will practice like the other 6 days of the week. I think they're lucky to get a day off. I know for the Patriots, their whole thing was like no days off. And then fast forward to basketball. Yeah, that one's still not as physically intensive as football. Football is the really intense one, which is why there are no recreational adult leagues for football. And when I say football, I'm talking about American football, not soccer. There are adult leagues for soccer, or as the Europeans call it, well, the entire rest of the world that isn't America, football. American football is way too intensive because it's mostly people headbutting each other, which is why there's the whole brain problem thing that they have. I forget what it's called, but it's definitely not something you can do on a daily basis. Like if football tried doing 5 or 6 games a week during the season for every team instead of just, you know what, let's actually look at, I'm actually going to pull up the Red Sox schedule so I can show you just how the schedule actually works for that compared to football. Because again, with American football, there's one game per week per team on either Sunday, Monday, or Thursday. They play their game, and then they have to train for the in between each one. They have to train for it because it's a lot more brutal of a game compared to basketball, baseball, or hockey. Even with the fights from hockey factored in. Alright, where's the... Really? There's no calendar option? Well, anyway, let me show this off. So today, they're playing at 4:10 at Fenway Park. Tomorrow, oh, same place, 1:35 p.m. Oh, on-field photo day. And then Monday at 11:10, it's the annual Patriots Day game. So while the Boston Marathon is running, this is what's going on. It's like Patrick Downs said in the movie Patriots Day, which I am rewatching tomorrow because it is such a great movie. But in it, he says the only things you can do in Boston if you're on Patriots Day, you either watch the marathon, you run the marathon, or you're at Fenway Park watching the Sox. Anyway, I think you get the idea. Let's get back to the video.
I mean, maybe in big cities, I don't know, but I doubt it. So, yeah, not playing sports or participating in any after school activities. It sounds kind of cliche, but it is one of my biggest regrets. And if I could go back in time, I absolutely would play at least one sport. Probably baseball, since that's the only sport I was ever even close to mediocre at.
Probably because the small business owner wasn't completely wrong about it being a bunch of guys standing around. Well, it's more like they hit a ball and then they have to make their way to a certain spot before they can get tagged out. Yeah, that's probably it.
So yeah, this next thing, this is probably my single most biggest regret I made in my high school years. Maybe even the biggest mistake I've made in my entire life. And ever since I first started this channel, I've thought about making a video just to tell this one story, but I kept going back and forth on whether or not I think it's actually interesting enough for its own video. And by now, I'm pretty sure most of my viewers won't believe me anyway, because this is the kind of thing that just doesn't happen to most people. But it really is true.
I think it's probably what gets him accused of being a federal agent. Let's see if the comments are doing that. Guy graduated when I was born. Regret number one. Seriously considering CIA training, still going along with it. I just turned 19, but I regret the last 5 years so much. Someone telling him to move on because it was nearly 20 years since he was in high school. Maybe he is a Fed. Wasn't he 35 a year ago? Shouldn't he be 36? Yeah, like I said, this guy constantly gets accused of being a federal agent. Let's get back to the video and hear what his second regret is and see if I align with it. Oh.
Really did happen to me. And it led to one of the biggest regrets of my life. So here's what happened. So first, keep in mind that I was actually pretty good looking for a short period of time, and the main thing that put an end to my reign of Chad lightness was the fact that I started to lose my hair when I was like 19 years old. And without hair, I am ugly as sin. Like, I'm easily sub 5. I got a weird looking head. I mean, that's the main problem. I have a very weird looking head, and my head is.
Let's
So
just
that
skip to the
alone
point.
puts her in the above. She wasn't fat, so my actually small as well. But anyway, in my senior year, I was actually pretty attractive. And this story I'm telling right now, this is one of this is just so fucking stupid, but I guess I
Wow, captions won't produce the swear words. Yeah, this might be a little too explicit for the live stream, so I'm just gonna sum it up. Nah, the let's just say he regrets his turning down an opportunity that he had. Video details are all here if you want to go look it up for yourself. Anyway, let's get to his third high school regret. And then he basically regrets talking about. He regrets lying about. He regrets not lying and claiming to be a Christian just to go with the flow. Which honestly is actually quite in line with one of the 48 laws of power. You can leverage the ability to lie a little about that. I don't enjoy lying personally, especially not keeping up certain appearances for the sake of keeping the lie going. I actually have all 48 laws of power written down. Okay, I'm having trouble tracking it down. Bear with me. I believe it was something about. Oh, I think Law 12 use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. Basically, meaning that he sounds like he regrets not being selectively honest, or I mean, you could find a way to have it be what I told you is true from a certain point of view. See, play a sucker to catch a sucker, use the surrender tactic, play the perfect courtier, recreate yourself, act, think. Okay, I found it. Law 38. Think as you like, but behave like others. So basically, it sounds like he regrets not just behaving like others, because you can still think as you like. Of course, I don't quite go out with the behave like others by either drinking alcohol or anything like that. I think differently on that. I act differently on that. And I refuse to let anyone discourage me from saying or doing otherwise. I firmly stand by my decisions on that. Though it is always good to learn from others, and in other instances, if I can bring myself to do it, I would probably, if I can bring myself to put up a certain front, then I will. Like how I keep certain details of stories I tell here anonymous for the sake of respecting other people's privacy. Take the story I told earlier about the small business owner. I never said what business he owns. And I didn't even say his name. I just referred to him as that because the truth is he owned a small business and he was a guy. That's why I'm using the pronouns I'm using. And that's where I draw the line because I'm not going to say anything more about his business. I think you get the idea. So, you know what? Let's take one last shot at attempting to expand on today's video. So, about an hour and 10 minutes ago, I dropped a video. I dropped a video titled, "She's immunocompromised and her friends keep bringing their sick kids when they meet up." Probably too long of a title. I might have to shorten that later if it doesn't pick up. But anyway, how about I bring up the article that I read in that. Come on, where is it? I save so many articles on Apple News Plus that I sometimes don't get around to certain ones, then I forget others. No, this is from before I started saving them for reacting in these videos. New singlehood here we go. Parent friends are all completely oblivious to the danger they're putting me in. So this is from Slate's Karen Feeding. I guess the write-in portion, which I honestly have found very interesting in the ones I have read. So basically, Sick Again is, as I described in the video, is a gender swap version of me. But every time her friends who have kids bring their kids to their meeting up, she keeps on getting sick, and on top of that, she is mildly immunocompromised. So she asked the author, Nicole Chung, what the etiquette is and how to deal with this, whether to bring it up with the parents or just make them wait for until the kids recover. And so Nicole responded, that Sick Again should let her friends know that you need to minimize germ exposure. And she offers a really simple phrase that gets the point, but is probably a little too gentle. I'm really looking forward to seeing you all next week, but if anyone is sick, will you let me know and we can reschedule? And then the author cites that how she always lets the other person know if anyone in the family is ill so that they have the choice to cancel and they know what to expect. And that asking for a rain check is perfectly reasonable. And that because little kids constantly pick up germs, the friends with she might see her friends with kids a lot less often. Which, like I said in that video, is kind of necessary. She has to either accept that this is going to happen, or set boundaries by either requiring that they cancel if they bring their sick kids, leave if they bring their sick kids with them, or she's going to have to find new friends if this keeps happening and they aren't willing to respect her boundaries. It's just the harsh reality. Sometimes you gotta let people go. Normally, I say that the burden is on the person who doesn't have kids to figure it out. And from a certain point of view, I still stand by that on this, where she has to explain that because of the immunocompromisation, she can't afford to get sick as often, or is more easy, or gets sick a lot more easily compared to the parents who are probably not immunocompromised, but desensitized to the whole thing. But in this case, I say that the parents need to, one, listen to Sick Again, two, understand why Sick Again doesn't needs to have this boundary set in place, and three, they have to either they have to focus on making sure their kid gets better before they do anything else. Because if you commit to being a parent, you are responsible for your child's well being. Therefore, social gatherings should be lower in priority behind making sure your child recovers from an illness. Again, I usually say the burden is on the person who doesn't have kids to figure out whether they, say, want to go to a animated movie that they want to go see, or wait for it to come out on PVOD or streaming or something like that, or find a time during school hours when the vast majority of children are going to be in school, and therefore there is a decreased chance of disruptive children in the theater audience. Or if you don't want to deal with potentially disruptive children in a supermarket, you're going to have to either use the online pickup or get same day delivery. You're going to have to do that yourself if you don't want to do that. Because again, the grocery stores can't say no to parents bringing their kids in. It's one of the claims from the child free people that makes me not want to. It's one of the requests from this one child free person who says that there should be child free grocery stores. That's one of those claims or wishes that make me not want to associate with them or go by that label. Because you can't discriminate based on that, both legally and morally. Everybody needs to eat. Now, if they cause wanton destruction, I'd argue that there could be a case for a criminal trespass to be issued if they do something that bad. But other than that, day to day life, if you really want to avoid having to see anything like that, or be in that kind of environment, I always say the burden is on you to figure that out. Either do online pickup, online delivery, or go in at certain hours if you think the odds are a lot lower. But again, the burden is on you. But in this case, the burden should be on the parents to one, make sure that their children recover from the illness, and two, aren't getting their friend who is mildly immunocompromised ill. Again, normally the burden is on the person who doesn't have kids to figure that out, in my opinion. Of course, the burden is still on her to bring it up in the first place and to set some boundaries and to, yeah, probably have to accept she's going to have to find new friends if they can't respect that boundary. So, yeah, that was today's long form video that I put up. I also talked about the smartphones aren't a rite of passage one, where I made it very clear that I am against 11-year-olds having smartphones. Really, I think that should be reserved for 18 or older. Once you're an adult and your brain is developed mostly enough, yes, there's another 7 years until you reach the age of 25. But if 18 is the age that we agree that people are legally adults who can make their own choices and sign their own things, if that's the age where people are not the age of majority, as it's called, then I'd say that's where smartphones are a-okay. Me, I didn't have a proper smartphone till I was 19 years old. What? I didn't really have much of a reason, just like I didn't have much of a reason to get my driver's license till I was 20. But I digress. Anyway, I'm trying to decide what other videos do I want to share with everyone that I already watched that I think are worth reacting to. Well, full disclosure again, these would be ones I've already watched. You know what? Let's talk about Easter being tomorrow. Anyone got any plans for Easter? I have to do. I have people coming over at noon, and then they'll all probably be gone by 3. Pretty standard protocol for my family, which will work out for me because I want to watch Patriots Day before dinner and then the live stream, which I'm starting to think Sunday night's probably going to be the best time, which actually makes sense because back when I did TV production, one of the classes I took, I learned that the reason that Sunday night is usually the night when the biggest shows drop, or well, when they aired on the over the air channels, which is something of an outdated concept, the whole airing on the airwaves. But Sunday night is the big ratings night because, according to my TV teacher from college. Everyone's tired. They had their fun on Saturday, and they have to go to work the next day. So instead of going out, they stay home and they watch. That's when the most people are watching TV. Or in this case here, probably when the most people are on YouTube coming up to watch something because they have work the next day or something like that. So that's why Sunday you're going to. That's why The Simpsons airs on Sundays. They have animation domination on Fox and all that. Basically, whatever premiere show they want to drop that isn't just football during the fall and early winter, or when it's not Oscars night. Sunday night was always the big one for TV networks. That's actually why new seasons or a new series tends to premiere right after the Super Bowl. It's because most people are already that's when the most number of people are already watching. So they want to get as many eyes on that new show or that season premiere or something right away. Like there was a Simpsons episode, the one that revealed comic book guy's name as Jeff Albertson. Alright, let's find which episode that his name was revealed in. Android's Dungeon, character, development. Oh, name. Yeah, he was always referred to as comic book guy. They intended to name the character, but they couldn't think of one. Yeah, Homer and Ned's Hail Mary Pass, 2005. February 6th, 2005. Super Bowl themed episode that was broadcast after Super Bowl 39. Is that one? Oh, yeah, that's one of the ones that the Patriots won. So up here, they would have continued with extended coverage about it. Whereas in the rest of the country, they would have seen Homer and Ned's Hail Mary Pass. I remember this episode now because I've seen it. I've seen all the episodes up till the end of 2024. Because that's when I canceled Hulu, and then 2025, I have not been a Hulu subscriber. I am not coming back anytime soon. I'm going to be honest, I'm a little on the fence about Prime Video and Apple TV Plus in the name of. Nah, I think I'll keep them because I get them as part of larger bundles. And I figured out the bare minimum for getting my money's worth thanks to my good buddy ChatGPT. Alright, I'm trying to find it. Here we go. Alright, let me take you through how I figured out the bare minimum to get my money's worth. So, Prime Video plus no ads because I hate advertisements. I will literally spare no expense to not deal with them. I really hope that YouTube Premium eventually masters the skipping the sponsored spot in the videos. Because guess what? You'll be getting money from my YouTube Premium viewership because part of the YouTube Premium subscription cost goes towards the creators who are monetized. Why in God's name should I have to sit through more advertisements? You know what? I don't care if anyone is mad at me because the sponsorships bring in extra money. I dislike advertisements. I prefer not to be advertised to where possible. Honestly, all I'm okay with are very small sponsored by this. Like at the Museum of Science, they usually have a note that something that they're showing is sponsored by this company or another. Like WCVB, the ABC affiliate of the greater Boston area, they tend to sponsor exhibits there. Yeah, you get the idea. Other than that, I'd really prefer to just focus on the substance. Although it is good to have it noted that it was sponsored by this person so that we can all follow the money and know potential biases. Anyway, I had to correct ChatGPT and let them know that Prime Video is actually available for $9 a month separately, so that would effectively be $12 a month that I usually do. And then Apple TV Plus, based on the $10 a month that you usually are charged, says here for Prime Video, 3 movies or 5 episodes or a season. Apple TV Plus, 2 movies or 4 to 5 episodes or 1 miniseries or season would work too. So I calculated the effective cost of Apple TV Plus as part of Apple One Premiere, which comes out to about $571 a month. So 1 movie or 2 to 3 episodes or 1 miniseries or season per month. Yeah, it turns out I don't need to spend an entire month watching something from it every single day. I wish I'd run these numbers with Netflix so that I could have just done the bare minimum with that and not worried about it beyond Cobra Kai. Of course, I would have had to watch a little more to get my money's worth because that was nearly 5 times what Apple TV Plus is effectively as part of Apple One Premiere. And I told it about the $9 a month Prime Video tier or standalone service. So that's effectively $12 a month. And then it does some calculations, market value, and then it has the other Amazon Prime perks factored in. So my effective cost is $11.97 per month if it's 82% of the monthly cost of Amazon Prime. Well, I actually pay the annual bundle because that's a better deal in the long run. So that's how it came out to 2 to 3 movies or 4 to 5 episodes or 1 season. 1 movie, 2 to 3 episodes, or 1 miniseries slash season for Apple TV Plus compared to Prime Video with 2 to 3 movies or 4 to 5 episodes. The episodes, they got the cost from the fact that both Apple and Amazon's digital stores let you buy individual episodes for about $3 each. So that's where those numbers are coming from. And so my targets per month are one movie from Apple TV Plus, and then 2 to 3 movies from Prime Video, or 2 to 3 episodes and 4 to 5 episodes, respectively. And so going forward with movies, I want to alternate between one Apple movie, one Prime Video movie, repeat. Because it exceeds my Apple TV Plus goal and meets the lower end of my Prime Video goal, which if you factor in TV episodes, it pans out. So, and then it has this optional tracking thing. I had it break down all the other benefits and see what I could do to get my money's worth. So, Amazon Prime, really just Prime Video and free shipping are all I need. I don't care about Prime Music, reading, gaming, or grocery benefits. Exclusive deals are nice, but only if I was planning to get something anyway. And then, so the minimum usage of Amazon Prime as a whole is the Prime Video bare minimum I just mentioned. And with that, I only have to make 1 to 2 purchases with free shipping for the whole year. Well, it's a good thing I make way more than that for purchasing birthday and then Christmas presents for my relatives. So basically, if you take. Okay, I'm not going to say too much. I'm just going to say I make way more than 2 Amazon purchases that get me free shipping that I wouldn't usually get. And the digital reward benefit for larger purchases for myself that I make on Amazon Day Delivery, that really helps. So the way I see it, I'm not really worried about other perks. Like I have Apple Music, which I prefer because it has the functionality of iTunes Connect, which lets me sync music I copied from CDs on iTunes itself, which is perfectly permissible. If it wasn't, Apple would not have allowed that feature in the first place. And then the Apple Music library, which is not too different from Spotify or the Prime Music or any of the other ones. All these music platforms, they all have essentially the same libraries. There's no such thing as a Apple Music exclusive song or album or anything like that. They like to get it out everywhere. And then Apple One Premiere. We already went over TV Plus. Music, I have to stream 1 album per week. Apple Arcade, I have to play 1 to 2 games and engage for a few hours over the month, which is why I'm considering penciling in Apple Arcade playtime for about 15 to 30 minutes a day. Maybe just 15. iCloud Plus. Honestly, I would pay $38.30 for iCloud Plus alone just for the peace of mind and the ability to re-download everything if something happens to my computer. But I also keep a external hard drive of everything I keep in iCloud Plus because I am not stupid. I know that clouds dissipate, if you will. That's a something that Dave Cullen of Computing Forever said. I'm aware that it is a remote hard drive that I can't just access without an internet connection, whereas if something happens to that hard drive, I can buy a new one and download everything from iCloud Plus into it. If something happens to iCloud Plus, well, I still have everything on the external hard drive. If, say, everything just got erased by some horrible accident and I got iCloud Plus back, I got a fresh new 2 terabytes of storage, I would have the option to re-upload everything to the new servers that Apple would have to buy. Or I could move to another cloud-based backup service. See, you can actually have both, believe it or not, or you'd be an idiot to rely on just one or the other. Now, if you want to just rely on one or the other, that's your choice, but I think it's completely idiotic. You should have one, you should have both. One for in case something happens to the other. Like I said, external hard drive gets destroyed, I can buy a new one at Best Buy and download everything to that. Something happens to the iCloud servers, I can upload to a new service. I can upload to iCloud Plus if anything happened to that. Or worst case scenario, I have it all locally, so it's not the end of the world. I feel like I should update that daily now instead of weekly. Yeah, tonight's the night that I always back up anything new in there into the external hard drive. Maybe I could do it twice a week. It's not really practical to do it every single day. But I do make a habit of doing that at least once a week. I don't know. If you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear it. So yeah, Apple News Plus, equivalent to one magazine per week with my video production and basically reading and reacting to articles. Most of these I actually get from Apple News Plus. I am definitely getting my money's worth with that. And then finally, Apple Fitness Plus. 1 to 2 workouts per week. That's all it takes. Again, this is when you're paying for Apple One Premier, and then it's effectively $571 a month compared to the usual $10 a month on its own, or whatever it is on the other. No, it's not available in any other bundles. Premiere is the only one that has fitness and news. So yeah, it's claiming I'm basically breaking even on the birthday presents, but I forgot to factor in the Christmas presents. I don't want to put in too much more detail, so I'm just going to say that I order the Christmas presents as well and see what it does. So basically, just for presents alone, I am saving $260+ in shipping. So I'm getting way more than just my money's worth. So I think we should ask it about YouTube Premium. How about YouTube Premium for the annual price of $139? Let's just take one look to make sure that it actually is still $139. YouTube Premium annual cost. $139.99 a year. All right, here's what it has. Oops. Here we go. All right, breakdown of YouTube Premium. Equivalent to $11.67 per month. Ad-free viewing, background play, offline downloads, YouTube Music Premium included. Five videos per day. More than 5 videos per day, the time savings scale dramatically. Background play, offline use. That makes the final $18 worth it. 5+ videos a day, $10 an hour. Background play or offline downloads occasionally. It's worth the $139.99 a year. So apparently you're saving $122 of time savings from ads alone, plus all the convenience extras. So I can get away with not using YouTube Music, which is a-okay with me. Yeah, I can say I watch way more than 5 videos per day. And I mostly listen to them in the background on my phone. Occasionally I'll bring them up on here like I did with Loser Maxing's video earlier. So I am definitely getting my money's worth. Hey, anyone want to see what other subscriptions are worth or what you have to do the bare minimum to get your money's worth? Because really, as long as you're outpacing what these services would cost without, they would cost independently. If you actually use it more than it would cost to on its own, then you're getting your money's worth. So let's say I watched 3 movies per month that I had to rent. I would be paying more than I would for Prime Video based on all those calculations. The reason Apple TV Plus only has to be 1 movie per month because the average rental is $6. Like I spent $6 to rent Hard Eyes for tonight's movie. That's because it's been out long enough. But most movies that are older than like 2 years or even a year are probably even less. They are effectively $4 to rent. That is low. That is very low. Or really not that bad. I mean, I did the numbers off the top of my head for Netflix when I was subscribed to that late January into late February, I literally could have just watched 6 movies and the new episodes of Cobra Kai. That would have gotten my money's worth right there. 5 movies, the new episode of. No, 4 movies, the new episodes of Cobra Kai, rewatch Squid Game Season 1, and watch Squid Game Season 2. Unfortunately, I was like, oh, I should watch as many as movies as possible, just like double my money's worth. So that's why I was thinking about what actually is the money's worth for a subscription like that. Well, on that note, I think I'm going to leave it here for the video because I think I've made my point, and I've officially streamed 7 times for at least half an hour in 7 days. I'm probably not going to do this daily anymore. I'm thinking maybe just Sunday nights, and I'll experiment with random nights here and there, and maybe Saturday afternoon, maybe Saturday morning, find some animated stuff on YouTube to watch, and we can do some Saturday morning cartoons, which this is not an official announcement. This is just an idea I'm pitching. So, give this video a like on your way out. Subscribe for daily uploads of long form videos. They are excellent for if you have YouTube Premium and you want to get your money's worth. Literally, my daily uploads for like a month would probably cover a year of YouTube Premium's money's worth. Don't quote me on that because I still need to actually run the numbers, but I also need to get going so that I can make my bun for tonight's dinner, my buffalo chicken sandwich. Yeah, I make my own buns because most grocery store bread still doesn't have as much of a shelf life, even with all the garbage that they put in there to make it last longer or make it look nicer. I'll talk about that another time, so thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.